Hey, this is a video for 1.9, Trophic Levels. So go ahead and check out the overview and set up your guided notes. So when we're talking about the conservation of matter, this is basically the reason why you'll see coefficients in some of the chemical equations, and that's basically to balance out both sides. We don't want to come up with any atoms or get rid of atoms that we may have had because there's always going to be conservation. What you start with, you're going to end with. It's just going to change forms. So I'm going to use the chloroplast here. This represents a chloroplast, and I'm going to use photosynthesis as an example. So going into photosynthesis, you have carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and you have water coming in from the roots of the plant. And it's given off oxygen, again, out through the stomata. Some of that oxygen is reused in the plant cell as well, but also it's given off glucose. And if you notice here, we got only one carbon and we got 6 carbons on the right side. So our carbons are not balanced out. That's why in the chemical equation for photosynthesis, when it is properly balanced, you'll see that you're going to have 6 carbon dioxide, 6 waters, 6 oxygens, and a 6 carbon molecule called glucose, which is C6H12O6. If you need to pause the video, count everything. But I'll show you right now using carbon. Notice each one of these carbons is accounted for, and you can trust me that everything else is accounted for as well. So the laws of thermodynamics basically are explaining this. First of all, therm means heat, and dynamics is, or when you ever see that root word, D-Y-N-A-M, like dynamite, dynamic, it has something to do with energy, movement, excitement. So these refer to the energy that is present. And energy is transferred, and when it's transferred, the leftover energy will be unusable. It degrades into a different form. So whenever energy transfers, some of it degrades. And when there's less energy available, it will be given off as heat. So the first law of thermodynamics, which you should commit this to memory, is energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. You can have potential energy changing to kinetic energy, which can change to electrical energy, and then it can change to heat energy. So heat energy is often considered the most degraded form of energy, and the second law of thermodynamics states that energy degrades. We don't create energy or destroy energy. It only just changes form, and when it changes form, it's not going to get to a quote-unquote better form. It's going to be a more degraded form. And when it gives off energy as heat, that is a very degraded form of energy. So what does this matter for us? Well, we're looking at feeding relationships. And when we say trophic levels, the prefix or the root word TROPH means feeding. So when we have a heterotroph or an autotroph, heterotrophs feed on other organisms, autotrophs feed themselves. Whenever you're drawing a feeding relationship, you always want to start on the bottom. And that's going to be the producers, or autotroph. Autotrophs, again, produce their own food through photosynthesis. This represents a terrestrial biome, and this represents a more aquatic biome. You may have more feeding relationships in an aquatic biome. That's just the nature of the organisms that live there. Now, with the primary consumer, this is the primary consumer. This is the symbol for primary, the one with a little degree on it. A primary consumer is going to be consuming the autotroph. Notice the arrow is pointing to where the energy is going. And then we will have a secondary consumer. A secondary consumer eats the primary consumer. The primary consumer is also called an herbivore, and once we get to secondary consumer, we have carnivores. Now, in an aquatic ecosystem, we can also go even further and have tertiary. Sometimes you will have quaternary, and that's the fourth level. You really don't go above quaternary, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, I would like you to respond to this check for understanding. And for FRQ practice, I want you to describe the connection between productivity and trophic levels. I hope that this video was informative. I thank you for your attention, and I will see you soon.